You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now, for the second leg of interviews on the program, we will be revisiting Lagos State House of Assembly with the recent impeachment of the longest serving Speaker of the House, talking about Obasa, who was impeached by about 90% of lawmakers at yesterday's plenary. Now, at this point, we're being joined virtually by Professor Yusufu Ali Zoaka, who is a political scientist and a policy analyst. Now, alongside Comrade Richard Romanus, who is a public affairs commentator and a patriotic Nigerian who loves lending his thoughts to issues of national interest. A very good morning to you, Prof. It's wonderful to have you join us on Morning Express today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Comrade, are you also on the line with us? Well, let's hope to establish that connection with Comrade Richard Romanus in just a short while. Well, Prof, very quickly now. In Lagos State, history happened yesterday. Now, two things happened with the ousting of the longest serving Speaker of the House of Assembly in Lagos State is on one part, and on the other part, Lagos State had now had its first female speaker since its inception yesterday, talking about Princess Mojishola, who took over as the Speaker of the House of Assembly. What are your thoughts on this, and what was your first reaction to this development when it happened yesterday?
Well, for me, in politics, certainly you have some, dynamics. Sometimes there could be changes, in the way, the institutions operate. And I think what has happened in Lagos, I think, is just part of those, changes that you likely have, during, such, periods.
Well, certainly, it's one of such changes that happen. Now, I just want you to react to some of the allegations levied against, the speaker by lawmakers within the House. Now, mind you, this impeachment was done while he was away on a trip to the United States. Now, some of these allegations brought against the erstwhile speaker include gross misconduct, poor leadership, high-handedness, lack of commitment to legislative business, amongst many other things. These are quite very strong allegations to be leveled against someone who has served in such a capacity for close to 10 years. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think, the problem maybe that could be set off.
Hello, Prof. Well, it appears to we have a little bit of a connection issue there with Professor Yusufu, and we would hope to have him reconnect and join back. In the meanwhile, let's see if Comrade Richard Romanus is with us now on the line. Hello, Prof. Are you back with us on the line?
Yes, I'm back.
All right. You were making a point before the call disconnected.
Yes, I was going to say that, when you look at the impeachment itself, you have the House of
Well, let's see if we can revisit some of the papers that have captured this historic event on their front covers. Talking about the Blueprint newspaper and the Punch newspaper, we'll quickly take a look at them, and then hopefully by the time we're done, Professor Yusufu will be back with us on the line. But before Professor, lends his thought, let's pick up the Punch newspaper as we take a look at an inside story, and then we'll have Prof react to it. Inside story is the catchphrase here. How Hubri intrigues power play sealed Obasa's fate. Now, Deputy Speaker Miranda sworn in as Lagos' first female speaker. Sanwo-Olu claims innocence. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Well, thank you. Let's hope that the network is more stable this time around. You were making a point.
Yes, I'm going to say that the allegations leveled against the speaker. I think what the House will have done, but I know that usually it is going to be difficult, for the presiding officer to have allegations against him and then allow, for the process to be, taken through. So I think where the House probably could be faulted is their inability to, for instance, set up a committee, investigate him, so that those allegations, once they are proven to be correct, of course, they will have sacked him legitimately. But what they've done now, he can now go to the courts and challenge them. And, in the courts, they will just look at did they follow procedure or they didn't follow procedure. Because, of course, you talk about fair hearing or whatever you want to do. And the moment you don't give somebody fair hearing, that knocks off entirely what you have been trying to do. Whether you are right or wrong doesn't really matter. So I think the problem for me with the impeachment is that the House should have allowed, the due process, to take place. Usually when you have it's not that it's not within their power or within their jurisdiction to do what they've done. But I think, most times, if you don't follow some procedures, your actions can be challenged in court, and whether your actions are right or wrong is not even the issue. The issue will be that, you didn't give the person fair hearing.
Well, it's about fair hearing, in your words, Professor. But now let's also take Comrade Richard Romanus' perception as to why this impeachment happened and why it was hastily done. Hello, Comrade. It's wonderful to have you join us. It's been a minute.
Yeah, thank you, Chidoke, for having me, my brother.
Now, you have always been quite particularly interested in the Lagos state politics. What was your first reaction to this impeachment? And do you also, much like Prof, think that it was maybe the right move, but followed through the wrong processes?
Well, as they say, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
I have a completely different opinion from what happened in Lagos.
All right.
And like you rightly asked, what was my first reaction? My first reaction was, oh, how are the mighty falling? I have always known that Obasa's, Right Honorable Obasa's days were numbered in the Cross River State, in the Lagos State House of Assembly. Quite a lot has been happening in Lagos, especially as it has to do with the Lagos State House of Assembly. As a matter of fact, it was largely reported in the media that a meeting was held. The president spent the Christmas, the Unitide in Lagos.
Yes.
Where quite a number of these political issues were discussed. And top of what we hear was also discussed in that meeting was Obasa's handling of the Lagos State House of Assembly, and even his relationship with
Governor Sanwo-Olu.
And with that report and how weighty I thought it was, I knew that Obasa's days were going to be numbered. And just like it happened yesterday, like I said, I was not surprised. I knew that his days were already numbered.
Now, Comrade, many people would argue that perhaps Lagos State is being run like a cartel. And we all know who the head of that unit is. Talking about the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and anybody who doesn't align with, the leadership from the top is almost swept away. And now we have seen Obasa, who has been a stalwart supporter of the president, falling into such a situation because of his fallout with the Lagos State governor and, of course, some other key players within the Lagos State political landscape. Is that what has happened at this point? Should we believe that the Lagos State political system is almost like a cartel and that Obasa is just a victim of circumstance?
Well, it has always been so. It has always been so. Whoever is familiar with Lagos State politics is able to know that what is happening to Obasa is not new. Unfortunately or fortunately, Obasa has always been a member of that family. This guy has been the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly since 2015. Chijoke.
That's 10 years.
That should tell you that he too has always been a member of that family, and check the number of his colleagues, that moved for his impeachment. Literally the entire house.
90%.
90% of the house moved against him. That is just to tell you, it tells you one thing. The house were completely disenchanted with his leadership. And I heard Prof say due process was not followed. Well, that may be true, but for me, so long as the majority of the house, were part and parcel of this impeachment, I think that what has happened in Lagos, for me, is in order,
Now, I think the argument might also be that in your last statement, what has happened, and due to the number of persons who stood against him for impeachment, it might stand. I don't think Prof will also subscribe to this line of thought. Professor Yusufu, did you get Comrade Richard's last take about your earlier comment citing it might have been the right move, but it was wrongly done? Do you share the same thoughts?
You see, for me, we're talking about building democracy beyond individuals, because when you don't look at these things from some, perspectives that may not really build our democracy, what we're talking about is building a democracy, and democracy is built on the rule of law. And so any institution that will not follow the due process, that is anti-democratic. It's as simple as that. That's just my own point of view. I'm not saying what they've done is wrong. What I'm saying is that what is wrong, because democracy is a very slow and sluggish process. Somebody has committed an offense, and it's part and parcel of your. So removing him solves the problem? No. If you're talking about corruption, for instance, why don't you investigate? If there are funds taken from Lagos State wrongly, then those funds should be returned back to the state coffers. You don't just say you have been removed. So you have removed him, so he should remain with his loot. Does that solve the problem that they have been elected to resolve in terms of bringing progress to the state? So for me, we look at some of these things from perspective. Are we growing our democracy? Or are we just remaining at the level of, brigandage? Just do things as if we're thugs and so on. No, we should go beyond that and begin to think in terms of what are the things that we can do to build our democracy.
Now,
and democracy is built on due process, rule of law. You can't just do things anyhow and say you are in the majority. No. You can be in the majority. It's not as if the majority is always right.
Now, Professor, Comrade Richard said something in the line of a recent fallout between the governor and the Speaker of the House of Assembly, where the Speaker was almost, denigrating the governor, especially during the presentation of the 2025 appropriation bill at the House of Assembly recently by Governor Sanwo-Olu. Do you think this might have been not unrelated to the incident that took place and what we saw yesterday happen at the House of Assembly in Lagos?
I think beyond that, what you hear, being said about the Speaker is the fact that he has grown wings to the extent that I think in the presentation of the budget that he kept the governor for 5 hours waiting. For the, you don't, do that, in a system. At least you accord, the governor some respect as the head of that state.
Yes.
To come and keep him, and it's not as if you're doing anything, just to show your power that you are the Speaker. I think somehow you're also over, it's some kind of power drunkenness. And certainly that cannot be accepted, to particularly most of them that are in politics, that, everything is about, power and who is more powerful. So at the end of the day, at least the governor would have displayed that, look, the Speaker, even though he has gone on assignment outside the country, before he would come back, he will come back, he's no longer the Speaker. They have removed him.
Beyond that, do you think that emotional maturity should have been exercised more leniently than the way it was, or more judiciously than the way it was? Now, with your statement, it appears to be a matter of some sort of beef or squabble between the governor and the Speaker, rather than all of these allegations that have been levied against the Speaker, which appear to be a charade as to why they really removed or impeached the Speaker.
I think another very, disturbing trend in the entire thing is the fact that, the speaker now has started showing interest in contesting for governor. I know in Lagos State they have what they call the Governors Advisory Council. And those, personalities in that council play a big role, in determining most of these issues about, succession and all that. So if you had come out maybe against the tide, maybe that he may not be the person being considered, because Lagos State runs a system in which they say they have a plan and that they are working towards a goal in building the state. And individuals have been kind of allotted certain responsibilities, and at particular times they will be unfolding them one after the other. So therefore, if it's not, for instance, a favorable, so to say, candidate for the position, and he has come out to say he's going to contest, of course, what they will try to do is to silence his entire ambition, which is part of what they do actually in politics in Nigeria. So there's nothing really strange about what's happening. So I think, apart from the fact that, there's some element of arrogance in the way he was, running the affairs, because he has been in that office for about, how many years now? They say about a decade.
Yeah, close
and
to 10
therefore
years.
Yes, and therefore he probably would have been becoming power drunk. And then, of course, apart from that, the allegation about corruption, trying to build a gate for how many billion naira. Most of them were feeling that, these are just wastage, of state resources.
Now,
so I think,
yeah, carry on.
They would have gone ahead. The point I was making is that if they have the evidence of all this, they would have gone ahead and present him before a committee. He can't be. He's not because he was appointed speaker. They are his friends are more equals, in the legislature, in that House of Assembly. It's not as if he's bigger than any other member in the House. They are all of equal rank. All of them were elected to represent their constituencies. He was only elected by the members to preside over their affairs. And so therefore, if he has done anything wrong, the point I'm making basically is that he should have been put through a process. He should have been processed. And then, of course, you will find the fault so that you don't repeat, the same. And then you don't set a precedent where now what you'll be seeing is some kind of banana republic. If anybody has done something wrong, he has stolen some money, you remove him. Removing him, it doesn't solve the problem. He has been elected to represent the people. Are the people being served in all these things that they're doing? If you say I'm building a gate for over 3 billion, for instance, couldn't that money have been used to provide water, health facilities, and all those other things to the people?
Now, Prof, you have repeatedly cited that the process for which he was impeached might have not been the proper way to go. In your opinion, what proper channels of impeachment should State House of Assembly members or lawmakers have followed in ensuring that they get through with this instead of the banana republic style that they approached it with?
They set up a panel within among themselves investigating. The panel reports, while the investigation is going on, he has to step aside as the speaker, and then of course they have a deputy speaker that will preside over the house and then do whatever they need to do. Once the report is presented and is guilty of those offenses, you don't just stop at saying he has been removed. If some of these things he has done are criminal in nature, you take him to court. Because I'm not too sure if the members they are only having immunity when they are in the house. They don't have immunity outside that house. And so therefore, if he has done anything wrong, he can be taken to court. And we saw the Senate President the other time appearing at the Code of Conduct Bureau to address, some issues pertaining his forms. So once we are able to, operate the democracy based on rules and regulations, because you cannot operate a society without rules and regulations, and people must abide by the rules. And so the moment you go outside the rules and do things that are not in line with the rules, they can easily be set aside by the court. And I'm sure they will now bring him back and say, should we pay his salary, pay their allowances, and all those other things. So is the state going to be gaining or losing? Well, if you had followed the procedure, and he may even be refunding money back to the state government.
That's a very pertinent question to ask right there, Prof. But I will hold you on to that thought. Comrade Richard, Prof made quite a very interesting observation with regards to whether or not the ousted speaker has had intentions or has entertained intentions of running for the office of the governor ahead of 2027. Now, this is an open secret, but what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what has happened in Lagos State has everything to do with politics. Obasa has not hidden his intention, to succeed Governor Sanwo-Olu in 2027. Just this morning I watched one of a video clip where he said all the former governors, including the present, or the people who have governed Lagos State, none of them is better than him. So he made all of these statements. That is just to tell you that, I am interested in this race, and given an opportunity, I can do better. And just like Prof said, clearly he is not in the good books of the Governance Advisory Council, the G group, the all-power group in Lagos State, and you see that position, that speaker position, it is actually, you are actually the first among equals. You are not bigger than any other member. You are there because your colleagues want you to be there. And the moment you're brought down, you fall like a pack of cards. And that is exactly how Obasa has fallen. I can tell you for free that governorship aspiration is dead already. I don't even see him, I don't see him lifting a finger. I don't even see him telling anybody he wants to be governor again, because it is now obvious that the powers that be, the kingmakers, the membership of the GAC, the GAC group, the stakeholders, the political stakeholders in Lagos State are not with him. And that is why all of that is happening to him. And again, like Prof said, a white man once said, he said those whose palm kernel were cracked for them by benevolent spirit should be humble. Obasa became too arrogant, clearly, and the way he has fallen is the way arrogant people fall. And I have no sympathy for him at all.
Well, comrade, no sympathy at all for the ousted speaker. Well, that is your take. Now, another dimension to it is concerning the president's son, Sheyi Tinubu. Now, I know a lot of people might refute the fact that he's not been groomed for the position of the governor in Lagos State, but many people have argued that perhaps his father, the president, alongside all those major stakeholders in Lagos State, are sort of grooming him to take over one day, maybe in 2027 or further ahead as the executive governor of the state. Now, I will have you react to this, but also in the words of the Minister of Youth Development, talking about Ayodele Olawande, who said, Sheyi Tinubu well qualified to be next governor of Lagos State.
Well, I agree completely with the Honorable Minister of Youth that Sheyi is eminently qualified to be the governor of Lagos State. I agree with him completely, But the truth about it is that Sheyi cannot be governor now.
Why?
Sheyi cannot be governor now because Nigeria is not owned by the Tinubus. My father cannot be president of Nigeria while I am the governor of a state like Lagos,
which is one of the biggest economies in the country.
Which is one of the biggest economies in Africa. That is like us considering the entire country to the Tinubus. And for me, if I am given an opportunity to advise Sheyi Tinubu, he is one young man I like. We've had presidents in this country. We've had presidents' sons. We've known them. Sheyi Tinubu is one of the most humble president's sons I know. one guy that is adding value to the administration of his father. One man that knows what exactly is happening in the streets, what young people are passing through, and is working very, very hard, some even behind the scene, to ensure that the president gets it right, to ensure that the young people in this country, are properly sorted. But I will advise that aspiration, he suspend if that aspiration is actually there. If I'm given an opportunity to advise, I will advise that he suspend that aspiration till maybe 2031. If in an event where the father gets a second term, the father, okay, let me give you an instance. I am thinking that Seyi Tinubu is likely going to be the father's retirement plan.
In what way, Comrade Richard?
Now, what I mean by that is that Tinubu, by 2031, after his second term, will no longer, I don't think, will be politically active enough. So what if you were his father, if you were President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who would be your retirement plan?
You say 2031,
yes,
as if you are very certain that the president would win
I am not certain.
His second term.
I am saying that in an event where the father is able to get a return to the presidential pillar.
Okay.
You understand? Now, that's exactly what I mean. In an event, that is if
all right.
Gets them.
All right.
Now, the point is, if the father gets a second term, after his second term, I am thinking that Seyi Tinubu is his father's retirement plan. That is the best time for President Tinubu to make Seyi the governor of Lagos State. To carry on with whatever legacies he has in Lagos. But for now, I don't think that it is the best time for Seyi Tinubu to indicate interest to be governor of Lagos State. The father is already packing with a lot in his hands, in terms of trying to meet the aspiration of Nigerians, trying to fulfill some of the promises he made to Nigerians. I don't think that carrying the burden of trying to make his son the governor of Lagos State, or trying to get people or convince people to make or support his son as governor of Lagos State, I don't think that is what he wants to carry on for now. So for me, I would advise Seyi Tinubu to slow down on his aspiration to be governor, maybe till 2031. He's still a very young person. He's still a very young man. So, that aspiration can still see the light of day by 2031.
Now, still relating this back to the impeachment of Obasa, many people have perhaps said that this ambition or these statements, especially made by the Minister of Youth Development about Seyi Tinubu being ready to be the next governor of Lagos, has something to do with the impeachment of Obasa from the top, talking about the presidency. Now, do you think that this is democracy being rattled, or are we looking at power play in action? What exactly is the picture looking like?
Well, the impeachment of Speaker has always been a function of power play. Prof was saying that while he doesn't see anything wrong with the impeachment, he would have thought that the assembly members would have followed some form of process. But I had sit here, I cannot remember any impeachment in any part of this country that has always followed due process. Chijoke, if you remember, please tell me. In Cross River State, remember that just a few months ago, the members tried to impeach the speaker.
Yeah.
In River State, you can remember what happened in River State. Even in the House of Representatives, we can still remember some of these things. I am not saying that all of these things are right. I am just saying that not one impeachment process has always followed due process. Maybe we can begin to advocate that these things should begin to follow due process. But the Lagos State House of Assembly have not done anything wrong at all. I've not done anything new. It is what we have been seeing in Nigeria. And then talking about the power play and all of that, if his impeachment has to do with the 2027 governorship, well, again, I don't think that Obasa actually constituted that kind of a major threat, in who becomes governor in Lagos State.
I mean, you never can tell, because they might have assessed his political strength, having served as the longest House of Assembly Speaker, and also being an erstwhile, a well-versed politician in the state. He might have posed a threat. Don't you think he might have posed a threat?
Let me tell you something. Maybe in subsequent occasion, if I another opportunity to analyze the politics of Lagos State, I will tell you who will be governor of Lagos State. Okay.
well, now you are taking the position of a soothsayer, but I'll come back to you. Please, Professor Yusufu, you have heard from Comrade Richard Romanus, and he seems to have very differing takes from you with regards to the governorship, situation in Lagos. But do you also think that maybe the ousting of Obasa might have been orchestrated by the president, so that his son, Seyi Tinubu, would have a leeway ahead of 2027's general elections in becoming the governor of Lagos State?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't have any way of detecting whether it is the president or who actually is, because I think the president is busy with governing Nigeria. And the problems of Nigeria are enormous. Okay, so I think that is a full problem for him to handle. But with respect to Lagos State, I know he will have a say at the end of the day as to who is going to be whatever. But I think, they have a very strong stakeholders in Lagos, and they all defer to the president at the end of the day, as a leader.
Yes.
And he has set up a political machine in that state. And so therefore, I don't think there's anybody that can disrupt, that machine. I think they've been working, since they've turned to democracy in 1999 to date. Most of the successors, I think, has a hand in picking them. And so therefore, I don't think that it will be different in 2027. In 2027, he also will have a hand as to who becomes, the governor of the state. But as to whether he is planning that for his son, that is another thing entirely, because we are not looking at the son as if he's one kindergarten, small boy that doesn't know what to do. I think somebody who is already, involving himself in very big, assignments, within the country in terms of business, cannot be seen as somebody that is not capable or will not have, the opportunity. If he's given the opportunity, will not be able to do, something.
So in your opinion, in your opinion, the Seyi Tinubu, the president's son, is ripe and well enough to be governor of Lagos State, much like the Minister of Youth Development has cited in one of his recent comments. Hello, Prof. Well, I think Professor Yusufu's connection there might have been severe. Now back to you, Comrade Richard. Let me get your take on a different perspective with regards to, the recent ousting of the speaker, and also the newly inserted Speaker of the House of Assembly, talking about Princess Mojisola Miranda, who has made history now as the first female Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. What does this mean for women in politics and for this constant yearning and cry for all inclusion of every person in different strata of life?
Oh, well, it's a big win for the women, and the new Speaker, is has been part and parcel of the Assembly. He wasn't just a member of the Assembly. She was the deputy speaker.
Yeah.
And what that means is that she knows the workings. She's well rooted enough, in the Assembly. She knows the issues. She knows what led ousting of his predecessor, her predecessor. I'm sure that she will try to make amends. She will try to correct some of those mistakes. The Right Honorable Obasa, made that made his colleagues, turn their backs against him. And for me, if I'm given an opportunity to advise, I would advise that she sees this as a rare opportunity and try to make her mark, while that position lasts.
Well, interesting. Also, many people have asked what this might mean for the women of Lagos State, especially at a time when many calls are being made for empowerment, women and youth empowerment. And it is no news that women are most likely more compassionate and more emphatic when it comes to dealing with women and children, women, youth, and children's welfare. Are we going to be seeing a boost in that anytime soon with regards
Yeah,
to this?
I agree with you, and I agree with you when you said women are more affectionate, when it comes to issues that have to do with women and children. I see the new speaker, trying to bridge that gap, trying to do some of these things, to better the lots of children and women in Lagos State. Examples are abound, when you want to mention, when you want to, give examples of how affectionate and compassionate women can be, and with the ascension of the new female speaker in Lagos State, I will not be surprised if women, or if the welfare of women and children, is given top priority. The coming days, I look forward to the coming days with her as the new speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly.
Well, let's see if we can re-establish connection with Professor Yusufu Ali Zoaka on the line. Hello, Prof. Are you back? Are you back with us now?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, fantastic. I was earlier asking Comrade Richard about the history that has been made in Lagos State with the election and swearing in of the first female Speaker of the House of Assembly in Lagos, talking about Princess Mojisola Miranda. Uh, what does this mean for women's inclusion in politics and for women in politics who are gradually climbing up the ranks to high positions of power in the country?
Well, if men who are in the majority now decide that, look, let's give a chance to a female, that's a very good development, really, because that simply means that they are recognizing that the women can also play a very vital role, in governance, particularly in lawmaking, because they are in the house. You have quite a number of them there. But beyond just having a speaker, I think if we're talking about inclusivity, some of us, I have argued severally that, look, we know that women, youth, and people with disability are not, they may have numbers, but they may not have the wherewithal to be able to get into certain positions. And so therefore, the politicians, particularly male politicians, must be deliberate, in trying to say, okay, since we know that women cannot have that number, for instance, in the parliament, why can't we allow some quota representation? And that's something that can be done right from the National Assembly. You have quota reserved for women, quota reserved for youths, quota reserved even for workers, for the army, and so on. Because in some parliaments in Africa, even though not very good examples of democracy, but they've been able to have some kind of inclusion of disadvantaged groups.
Yeah.
In the legislature. And I think that this is a very good development, and I do hope one day will go beyond that, in Nigeria, and begin really to have more women, in parliament and all that.
Now, away from even inclusion in that sense, it's also about the temperament of most women, especially when it comes to welfare of women, youth, and children, and also being in touch with the realities, the daunting realities of the hardship of life, and in curating meaningful policies or projects that will help the vulnerable and less privileged in the society. Do you think that Princess Miranda is a perfect fit into this role play?
You see, most times when it comes to issues like that, issues about whether somebody is going to be compassionate or is not going to be compassionate, I think you have to sometimes look at it from a class perspective. So if somebody is a member of the upper class, now what are some of the tastes? What are some of the likes? What are some of the dislikes? Of the members of that class. And so therefore, if somebody has not, for instance, decided by himself, without any form of influence by anybody, to say, okay, I am contented with whatever it is, no matter how little it is that I have, and that whenever I have an opportunity, I will be more concerned about touching lives than just accumulating wealth for myself and members of my family. So it depends on the personality, actually. Because in this case, if he starts doing anything that is, we can consider it to be abnormal, because if you now begin to talk about, getting things across to most of the disadvantaged groups, that could come in the form of the laws that they're going to make. So what laws are they making that will take care of some of these disadvantaged groups? So within the remaining period that she's going to be there as a speaker, I do hope they allow her to really serve as speaker, not that they're going to just put her there temporarily, and then when they now come back as men, they now say, okay, maybe she's not too strong, because most of those type of politics in those type of places requires not just the normal things that you see, but a lot of abnormal things. Will you be able to go and gather talks, all those type of, things? Because you learned even this yesterday that some talks came to support the speaker, but unfortunately for them, they were all arrested. They didn't allow any such distractions
to happen.
Yes. So you have to have that strong will to be able to do some of this.
All right, to get your final thoughts before we let you go, Prof, what should we be expecting in Lagos State ahead of 2027 in the general elections?
Well, you see, the state is endowed with a lot of funds, and I think those funds, if they are channeled towards, growing the state, providing infrastructure particularly, and expanding and ensuring that there is some level of decency and law and order within the state, that would give us a very good hope, that whoever is coming, to take over, for instance, from Sanwo-Olu will also improve on what he has done. I think they have a template that they're working on, and gradually we're seeing some transformation taking place in the infrastructure, provision of rail lines, all those type of things that will help move people, from one place or another with ease. I think when it comes to, the politics, the Lagosians themselves know, what eventually they will do. But I know that APC is very strong, in Lagos, and for a very long time they may continue to determine, who governs the state.
All right, Prof, we must thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you join us on Morning Express. Looking forward to having you again to discuss more issues of national interest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that has been Professor Yusufu Ali Zoaka, who is a political scientist and policy analyst, lending his thoughts on the topic of the day, which is the ousting of the erstwhile Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker. Now, coming back to you, Comrade Richard Romanus, you have gotten the Prof's last takes before we let him off. What are your takes on anticipations ahead of 2027 general elections?
Well, my anticipation is that a whole lot is still going to happen in Lagos State. As we approach 2027. The politics of Lagos State. It's always a very interesting one. Don't forget that the man who has always been the stabilizer is now in Abuja. And then. You cannot be in Abuja and in Lagos at the same time, So some of these things will definitely happen, ahead of, as we approach 2027, so that somehow, it will always be running back to Lagos, coming back to Abuja, just to stabilize a few of these stuff. But I mean, I am still looking forward to more surprises in Lagos State.
Well, looking forward to more surprises in Lagos State. Fingers crossed. Let's see what it holds or what the future holds for Lagosians ahead of 2027. Comrade Richard Romanus, Public Affairs Analyst, I must thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on Morning Express.
Thank you so much, Yusufu. Thank you.